me a little bit more about that?
Sure. I performed for the Solo Pan Nights in Trinidad. The director of that group was Robbie Greenidge at the time. And he's kind of remarkable because people know him and they just don't realize they know him. He's the steel pan player for Jimmy Buffett, actually. And he's much more than that, of course. We think about playing Margaritaville and things like that, but he's one of the top arrangers in Trinidad. And Solo Pan Nights, Solo is actually a soft drink company. So many of the groups there are sponsored by groups like Amico or Solo or different organizations. I was invited to play through a mutual friend, and the steel pan organizations in Trinidad are very much community-based. For example, you'll find them in almost every small town. And they're not professional groups. Nobody gets paid to play, but they rehearse a lot. They usually start up around, they say they start up around 8 o'clock at night, but I know my experience was that I showed up at 8 o'clock at night, nobody was there. There's certain times called island time, which you're not able to run. Things tend to start a little bit late there. So we rehearsed most of the time from about 10 o'clock at night till about 2 or 3 in the morning. So and we did that every night going into carnival season.
That's crazy. Or for the people who aren't familiar with carnival, could you tell them like specifically what it is?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Carnival, it's the pre-Lenten carnival that takes place before Ash Wednesday. And it's really just the last celebration before a time of sacrifice, of course, in the Christian calendar. And a lot of the carnival season is wrapped up in parades and soca tents, the competitions, the trying to think of the term here, but very much like Rio de Janeiro, where there are a lot of ornate costumes and floats and things like that. And the steel pan is involved with that in a couple of ways. Number one is Panorama, which is the big competition with the 100-piece steel bands. But they also have Juvet, where they have the pans on trucks. Pan on, I guess you would call it like a parade situation where you're going on truck back during the parade. And then there's also another competition called Pan on the Move, which is the old-time pan, where you'd hang it around the neck and actually march down the street. I was not part of the other two present competitions. I was only part of Panorama. But I get to see the other ones.
How did you become involved with Calypso or with percussion in general?
Okay, well, I've been a percussionist now for, about 30 years, it seems. But I started with steel pan playing in college. We actually had a steel pan orchestra. Now, in the United States, we usually call it the steel drum, but in Trinidad, it's called the steel pan. And our steel pan organization started up probably when I was a sophomore in college. I just loved it and played a lot for fun. And then it became part of my career. I ended up buying my own pan and teaching it at the college level. And got hooked up with some players actually in West Virginia, where there were a couple of Trinis living that build steel pans, and they're the ones who got me involved with the organizations that got me playing in Trinidad. So I've been doing it now for quite some time.
So what do you feel Calypso means to you?
Oh gosh.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. This is a difficult question to answer because I'm not from Trinidad. I can only tell you as an observer what it means to me. But the idea of Calypso and soca, they're so intertwined in the modern era, but the idea of Calypso, this song, there's a lot of debate about where it began and what it means. Some people will say that soca is an offshoot of Calypso. It's a soul Calypso that's been influenced by what other countries. Some people say that soca is more the social protest music and Calypso is more the celebration music. I don't think it's that simple from what I understand from the people I know from Trinidad. I know that many of the old-timers in Trinidad feel like Calypso's been kind of hijacked and it's not the same as it was, 30, 40, 50 years ago before other influences came in.
More like modernized or pop?
I think so. The next note up would be a G, which is a fifth above that. Then we go down to a D, which is a fourth below. I hope this makes sense. It's either a fifth up or a fourth below. This particular pan has been chromed for durability. And then within each note we have an octave. And some notes even have 3 octaves in there. So we usually use a wooden or metal stick with rubber mallets on it. And it's kind of a lot of people wonder if there's any kind of miking to the pan or anything. It just has this natural ring to it. I'm trying to think something I can play on the cobs here. Those aren't really cool.
My band is called the Caribbean Crew. We are based out of the greater Orlando, Florida area, but we service the entire country.
Okay. How long have you been playing calypso music for your band?
This band has been together since, I want to say 2003, but I have been performing professionally since 1993, so 10 years prior to that.
What first got you into the music of calypso? Or how did you become a band member?
Well, I'm originally from Trinidad and Tobago, which is where calypso was invented, so it's kind of part of our culture. I found that growing up in Trinidad, you kind of take it for granted because you hear it on the radio all the time. So it's only when I was 19 years old and came to the United States to attend university, very romantic and was longing for anything that would remind me of home. And I found that that's when I really took a much deeper interest in calypso and soca music because, like I said, it pretty much made me feel like there was some sort of element that was, still made me feel like I was back home. So while at college, I met another gentleman from Trinidad who actually I knew from when we both lived there. And we decided to form a band. And that's how it came about. That was, like I said, back in 1993.
So would you say the fact that it ties you to home is your favorite part of calypso music?
Definitely, yes.
Well, calypso music, my parents have listened to it all of my life. I can't remember a day going without hearing it, so I guess I've been listening to it since I was born. Well, I don't feel like it's just Caribbean influences that are important in the Gainesville community, but influences from all around the world in general. In America, I feel like we're taught that America's number one and we're the best and we have to have pride in everything that we do and all that, and we really don't focus on the other countries that are out there in general. I was actually reading an article in my women's studies class talking about cosmopolitanism, and one of her main arguments was that in America we learn American history, we learn American government, all this stuff, and then afterwards we're kind of like, okay, well these countries are cool too. But instead, what we should be doing is learning about these countries and everywhere else from the beginning throughout history classes and throughout, reading, English, things like that. And then eventually we build that sense of cosmopolitanism. And I feel like if we did have that, we'd probably be in a better situation.